This computer. All right. Hey, Mark, how you doing tonight?
Hello, doing well.
Good, good. Is that where you work? Acronis?
Yeah, Acronis, that's where I work.
Oh, cool. Is it? I'm assuming that's just a fake background and not actually where you
Yeah,
are right now.
it's a virtual background. That's correct. I was in Bulgaria last week, and so
Wow.
Sofia is the office that I was visiting, but I'm back home in Arizona.
Okay. Wow. Bulgaria to Arizona. That's a trip.
Yeah, 23 and a half hours. That's a very long day.
Gosh, my wife and I went to Ireland 2 or so years ago. It's like a 14-hour flight, and when we went, we splurged. We put our pennies together and got first class tickets to do that. I'm like, I can never fly coach again.
Yeah, especially international. I've done that a couple times, but
Yeah.
this was on the company's dime, so the company was not paying for my flight
No,
last seat. So I had to
no.
suffer back and coach.
Oh, not even business. Oh man. Oh, this coach. It's the worst.
Yeah, it's got to pay the mortgage though.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's true. I have one. I used to. My kids live with their mom in Utah, and I fly out to see them. I fly out with them, and I fly back home alone. 90% of the time, I got bumped to first class because there are families traveling together that needed that extra seat in coach. And I was like, and I just, okay, I'm first class. But yeah, those international flights, I don't know how you. I can't do coach. I'm a big man, and those seats are not comfortable. Boy,
I'm average size and they're not comfortable.
I know it's horrible. It's just horrible. It's like, my wife wants to go to Maine next month, and she wants to fly like Allegiant. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna fly Allegiant. The seats are
Yeah.
like it's like a Barbie plane. It's like half
Oh
the
yeah.
size of normal people.
That's a great plane if you're got young kids, but
Yeah, yeah. But no, we have a Delta Amex, so that gives us a
there you
free
go.
companion ticket every time. So we did that with the tickets at Ireland. We paid for one, the other one was free. So you gotta squeeze it where you can. All right, gentlemen. I have okay. So my name is Don Stevic, Brother Stevic. You can call me Brother Stevic, you can call me Brother Don, you can call me Don, call me whatever. I'm not really built on formalities here. I know we have formalities built into BYUI, but you know, we're all cool here, right? So um it's like church. You call me what you think you call me when you see me. I have been a DBA for good grief, 24 years at this point, give or take. And I've been teaching at BYUI for probably the last 7 or 9, probably about 9 years. 9 years. I love databases. They're fun. I enjoy them. I enjoy them probably more than a normal person would. To me, like they're art because it's about flow of data and how the data moves. So that's what we're doing this semester. We're going to be talking about databases and how fun they are. And what I'm going to do tonight is I'm just going to talk to you about what the expectations of the class are, how the class works, what you guys can expect. And then I'll take any questions. And these Tuesday night meetings are generally me explaining that week's lesson to you, plus some going over the code, how the code works, giving you code examples, um, talking about database design, and then any questions you have. So that's generally how these work. So let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, let me move this and down here. Okay. Okay, so when you look at a weekly assignment, the weeks kind of look, I'm gonna look at week 3 because that's the normal week. You've got preparation and reading, you've got exercises, you've got quiz, and you've got your paper. I don't think anyone's used the discussion board in the last 6 years. So if you pop on there, use it. No one uses it. For a long time, I had a Discord server, and that worked pretty well. And then people stopped using that, which is fine. But I try to make myself accessible. And I'll go how to get in touch with me later. But so these are every week there's going to be a preparation and reading, there's going to be an exercises, there's going to be a quiz, and there's going to be a paper. So let's look at the preparation and reading for week 1. So here in this window here, here's what we're going to do. This is what you learned today. This is what you learned this week. We're actually going to talk about this next week. What all this stuff is, here's your reading assignments. I don't know. Have you guys gotten the book yet and cracked into it and started looking at it? Okay.
Yeah.
Books like this are not pleasant to read. They're not like a page turner. They're not like, ooh, look at this, you know. They're a great reference book. So I don't expect any of y'all to read chapter 1. I haven't read chapter 1. I've been teaching this class for 9 years. There's an index at the back. If you got a question, go look it up, find the thing that's there and do that. Your quizzes don't come from the book. Your quizzes come from these here. There are a bunch of web pages and PowerPoint slides that they've got for you. That's really what you want to focus on. Now, keep in mind that the quizzes and the final exam, should you choose to take it, are open book, open notes, open internet. Go ahead and use ChatGPT if you want. Whatever it is, we don't hinder you from using all the resources available to you. And I think it wasn't my call, but it would have been my call if they asked me, because when you're in a career like this, Mark, what do you do at Acronis?
So I am the global head of education, learning, and development.
Oh wow,
So,
that's an impressive title.
I create curriculum. I coach internal employees as well as channel partners.
Oh wow, okay, that's awesome. That's a great job. So in this day and age, we don't do anything in a vacuum anymore. If I need to find a piece of code, I used to go on Twitter, but it's not safe anymore for normal people, so I stay away from Twitter now. But I go online, I go into Discord, I go into Reddit. There are a lot of online groups of people who do code, who do databases, and if you go and ask a question, you get an answer back in like 30 seconds. I don't, I haven't interviewed in a long time, but whenever I would interview, they would say, "Do you know the answer to this?" I said, "Well, if I don't, I know where to find the answer." Because right now it's more important to know where to find the answer than to know the answer, in my opinion, because technology changes so quickly. Everything changes so quickly. It's hard to keep up. So if you have a lot of resources online and you can find it, that's awesome. But to that point, when you're taking your quizzes here, when you're taking your final exams, whatnot, feel free to use the internet, feel free to use your book, feel free to pull up these web pages and answer the questions. So every week you'll have this section here saying what to read, what to look over. Like I said, pay more attention to these than to the actual chapters. Pull down the PowerPoint slides. They're going to tell you what you need from the chapters. And then sometimes a little information down here. Welcome to the workbench, create a MySQL connection, visual editor, all this other stuff here. Okay. And then we're going to talk about this next week. We're going to talk about how to use basic commands. That's my week 2 spiel. So this week it's very limited. This week, I think your assignments are just to like install MySQL and get that running. And then they ask you about the CLI, and I'll preach to you about the CLI in a second. Okay, the second thing you'll always have is exercises. The exercises are a series of questions that will eventually ask you to write code. But right now they won't. They'll just give you like, you can look at these here. I take these, I'm gonna preview this here. So this is just multiple choice questions. After next week, I think you'll have like write code that does this, write code that does that. Just so you know, everyone tends to get surprised at this around week 3 or 4. So I just tell everyone now, for the most part, the answer to these quizzes is in the back of your book. Again, because the creators of this curriculum. Hey, Jason. The creators of this curriculum felt that if you don't know how to write a piece of code, looking at that code will help you write that code. So if you're struggling with one of the questions and you can't figure out how to write the code, if you go to the back of your book, it's there. Reverse engineer it, figure it out, do what you're going to do. Because soapbox moment here. This class, if any of y'all who are here with me tonight, or if anyone's actually watching this in the great ether, if you intend to pursue any kind of development career, either be it databases or programming or whatever, classes like this only start you on the journey. You've got to play with the code and do things with it and make changes and see what you can and can't do with it. You know, there's a reason why we call our development environments sandboxes, because you're expected to go in there and play and see what you can do and see what the final project is going to kind of go about that. And I'll get over that in a second. So there'll always be a set of exercises to do. There'll always be a quiz. You have 2 chances to do it. It takes 90 minutes, give or take. You'll see the right answers when you're done. It'll take the best of the 2 best 2 answers. It's open book, open notes, open everything. There's really no reason you should ever get a bad grade on this. I'll warn you now, I spent the off season between semesters fixing the 27 some odd questions that were in there that were broken. And then they reloaded the course from scratch and I'm fixing them all again. So it happens. So if you see a question that is broken, if you see a question that you don't understand, if there's 2 questions the same thing, email me, ping me, let me know. I'll fix the quiz. So I'll fix the quiz and give you credit for what you should have gotten right. I don't have the time to go through all the quizzes every single semester, so I trust you. I lean on you guys to tell me what you find that is wrong. But again, it's these the quizzes are fairly straightforward. Use your book, use your notes, phone a friend. The papers. Now, this is where it kind of gets interesting. So every week you will have a paper that you need to write. You'll see it says you have joined a new company, and while you've thought you were prepared, your manager believes that you have a lot to learn, blah, 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 blah. So you get this prompt to write. I think last semester was the first semester that someone actually did this. You can absolutely copy that case study and drop it into Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever, and it will write you one fantastic paper. I know the tools I need to use to make sure that you're not using AI to write these papers. So please don't. What I do now in my work, I use cognitive AI a lot in my job right now because I do a lot of writing for business proposals, business boards. So what I use it for is I'll write what I think is right, and then I'll put it into the cognitive AI engine and say, clean this up, make this make more sense, just highlight this. By the way, not you, Marcus, you got a great job. Brandon and Jason, if you're looking for a job, I was playing with something the other day. I was looking at, I want to work for Disney. I've always wanted to work for Disney all my life. I want to get a job with Disney. So every time I see Disney has a job open, I apply for it. And I always get kicked out. Because when you send a resume in, it goes through an AI, it goes through a machine thing and it pulls out keywords. And if you don't get the keywords, they kick your resume to the curb. On a whim, I have Gemini. I took the job description and put it into Gemini, and then put my resume into Gemini, and I said, make them match. And it kicked out a pretty fantastic resume that checked all the boxes. So I'm still in consideration for the job at Disney. So, but my point is, AI is a great tool. Learn how to use it. Learn how to make it work for you. Don't use it to replace you.
Yeah.
It's not as smart as you are.
We use AI at my work to create 80% of our content, but we still require human beings to go through and do the final touches because it's still very apparent when something is pure AI. Anybody who has any experience can suss it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I'll write out what I've got to do these called engineering analysis because I'm I'm the manager for my database team, and whenever we have a new project, I've got to write the analysis on what we're going to do for the engineering side of things. And so, and it's through this agile work for environment. So, I put everything into what I did last time was very interesting. I put everything I needed it to do in the AI engine. Then I said, here's what I want you to do. Ask me any question you need to get the information. So then it quizzed me for a good solid 15, 20 minutes and answered the question. And then it pumped out the exact form that I needed. But I had to go back in and polish it up because it used words that I wouldn't use. So, but it's a powerful thing. Please don't use it to do these papers. Because I've got an engine that I run it through, and it tells me whether it's AI or not. And then I'll come back and say, hey, this is AI. Please do it again. So, but every week you're going to have a paper to do. Every week you'll have a prompt to use. This is the prompt. There is a case when that's not true, and we'll get to that in a second. But they're all just generally, and this is because the code is in the back of the book and the quiz is in the back of the, everything's open book. This is really where I get to see whether you know your stuff or not, because you're writing about what you learned that week. If you're doing these papers this way. So, so there's that. Any questions on anything so far?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Just to clarify, with the papers, we can use AI to polish,
Yeah.
but not to write.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I mean, I don't feel I should tell you not to use AI because it's there and it's a tool and let's use it. But I would say, like, if I were running the class, I would write what I want this to be. And then I would take what I wrote and put it into the engine and say, hey, fix my spelling errors, make this make more sense, blah, 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 stuff like that.
Yeah, at my work, we require everybody to save their prompts and share them so that we can see what they did. So we
that's a really good idea.
Use it, but we tell people, because ChatGPT or Gemini will save your prompt and you can share it with other people.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I might that's okay. Yeah, so I might require that, like, starting here on week 3 or 4, because I can't do it now because it wouldn't be fair. But maybe watch for 3 or 4. I might say, if you're using ChatGPT, show me your original, and then show me what ChatGPT pushed out. But I like that. I'm gonna do that at work too. Well, I do that anyway because, like you said, ChatGPT. Well, Gemini saves everything that you do.
Yeah, we just do it from an accountability and a transparency standpoint. It just saves problems from happening in the future.
Oh, I think it's great. That's a great idea. And we're still, my company, I work for a company called Leidos. We're kind of in the infancy of how we use AI right now. It really shocked.
Everybody is.
Yeah. It really shocked me when I found out that all the AI engines were accessible through our firewalls. And I think they just monitor what you put in there because you don't want to put anything stupid like, your password in there. So, all right. Yeah. So with the paper, you absolutely can use AI to help you out, to clean things up. You can use, and this is where you got to be really, really careful. You can use ChatGPT, you can use cognitive AI to help you write the code for things, but make sure that's where you got to be really careful because, especially when you're using Transact SQL. So T-SQL is the language you use in programming. It stands for Transact SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Okay. You've got Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle Server, MySQL, MongoDB, Postgres,
Maria,
Cassandra. What's the one that Amazon uses? There's like 30 different databases, and they all use Transact SQL, but they all have minor differences that don't match each other. For example, in MySQL or in Microsoft SQL Server, when you want to do lines on, you want to do automatic number of tables, the command is called identity. And what it is in MySQL, it slips my mind at the moment. But so and in Oracle, it's something completely different too. So every engine has specific commands that only work within that engine. Microsoft SQL Server and Oracle will only accept single quotes. Oracle, MySQL will accept double quotes. Some things don't exist in MySQL that exist in everything else. Some things exist in MySQL that don't exist anywhere else. So if you ask the AI engines to write you code, Go and double check to make sure it'll actually work in MySQL. Particularly if you're doing the final project. And we're gonna get to that in a second. Okay. So that's that. So let's, if there are no questions on this, I'm going to jump into the final project. Now, I talk about this now. You don't have to make any decisions until week 3. You'll notice that this is a week 3 thing. About 5 years ago, I actually happened to be in Idaho because my daughter was going to school on campus at BYUI, and they happened to have a meeting for the database team while I was there. And I went through and we talked about it, a couple of things. And the only issue I ever had with this class, it's called Database Administration and Design. And there was never an option for design up until about 4 years ago. So I talked to the powers that be, and we came up with a final project. And this final project is a 100% design element. You are designing the entire thing from soup to nuts. If you do the final exam, final project, you do not do the final exam. It's one or the other. You don't do both. It's too much to do both. So the final project is essentially you come up with an application or some kind of program or something that you think would be incredibly useful, and then you design the back end for it. You could do like, you want to do an app for collecting Pokemon cards. You want to do an app for music. A lot of people, because this is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, every year someone does one on food storage. There was one person, I think it was 3 semesters ago, did a really cool one. They designed a database that not only tracked food storage, but it also kept recipes in it. And you could query the database to see what recipes you could do with what ingredients you had on hand. So that was pretty intricate. And it was really pretty cool. So it's something along those lines. You're not required to do the front end. You're not required to do anything. Just do the back end, the database. How would the database work? Because the point of this is to teach you or to let you play in a sandbox where you're designing a database from the ground up, creating the tables, creating the restraints, creating the query, the connections between the two of them, and then creating the queries that will work the database. It's a lot of fun. I usually get 6 to 10 people a semester to do it. My goal is to have everyone do it, but I know it's a big ask. The funny thing about this class, I've got 24 people in this class, and at least half of them I will never talk to because they'll be done with the class by week 4. They will just power through the entire thing. Because this class is, you can, if you decided today that you want to be finished in 3 weeks, you could finish this class in 3-4 weeks. I don't know how much you would learn, but you could power through this thing. And just do all the quizzes and the exercises and stuff. I don't suggest you do that. I suggest you take your time. But that's why I only get usually 6 to 10 people, because half the people are generally, they don't come to these things. They don't pay attention. They just right through. So, which is fine. If that's the way you're going to do it, that's what online classes are for. You get what you want. Okay, so when you do the final project, what you're going to do is you're going to give me a drawing. It's called a diagram of your database. It's called an ERD. It's called an entity relationship diagram. You're going to give me the code to create the database. You're going to develop use cases for that. So like, let's say, like I said, 2-3 semesters ago, someone designed a database that tracked what was in their food storage and tracked their recipe book. And there was a query that said, show me all recipes I can do with what I have on hand. Show me what I'm missing to make this specific recipe. Show me what I can make with this specific ingredient. So what the use cases are is you're trying to see how someone would use this database. What would they use it for? How would they get that information out? How would it be relevant to them? Don't worry about that part. And then, so it's the ERD, it's the database code, it's the code, it's the use cases, and then you have to give me code to populate the database, because when I grade your project, I just run the code against it. And then, what's the other two things? You've got to give me, and this is extra credit, a mock-up of how the front end of the application would match the back end. We'll go over all this stuff later. This is kind of an overview on what to expect. And then a PowerPoint presentation or a video explaining your project to me. Because if we were an in-person class, we would absolutely spend like 3 days. Everyone come up and show me what you got. So if this interests you, which I hope it does, just kind of think right now, like what would be a good premise for a project? What could I possibly do? I read this, and I tell the story every single time. I remember, and this is why I say, like, a lot of people, there's some people who've like designed something that's so cool. I say, make this an app, put this out there. Someone will pay you to use it. About 20 years ago, yeah, I was like in a Chili's with some friends, and tablets had just started. Like the first tablets had just came out. I'm like, these are really cool, because I'm always like, I'm a big Star Trek guy, and so anytime something new comes out technology, I'm figuring out how this ties into Star Trek, right? So we were there talking about how like these new tablets could be like, tricorders, could get a little scanny thing, and MRIs and stuff like that. And we went to pay the bill, and I said, how cool would it be if there was a tablet on the table and we could just pay the bill from here and not worry about the waitress anymore? How cool would that be? And I never did anything about it. And then 20 years later, now it's in every Chili's, and someone made $1 billion an idea, and I got, I didn't even get a free French fry. So, but yeah, some of these ideas, like that one, the guy who did the database with the food storage and recipes, I'm like, dude, you got to do this. You got to put it like an LDS living. People will buy this thing. This is like crazy. People would love this. He didn't do it, and I'm too lazy to do it. So if you want to do it, go for it. I'm sure someone will buy it. Okay, that's the final project. So now the other thing about the final project, and this is where a lot of people like it, if you choose to do the final project, your weekly papers change. You no longer write the prompt. You now just have a conversation with me how your project is going. So if you decide on week 3 that you're going to do your final project, your week 3 paper wouldn't be whatever the topic is. You'd say, Brother Stevic, I'm going to do the final project. I'm thinking about these 3 things for my my project. I'm leaning towards this one. Please let me know what you think, and we'll have a dialogue that way. That's a way for me to keep in touch with you on how you're doing with the project. Just kind of let me know where you are, where you're doing, stuff like that. So a lot of people do that just so they don't have to do papers every week. I don't blame them. If you decide on week 3 that you're going to do the final project, and then on week 11, like the world explodes and you're just not going to get it done, that's cool. Just do the final exam. I'm not going to be mad at you. Just don't on week 11 decide to do the final project, because you'll never make it. The final project, at the very least, takes about 8 weeks to do. At the very least. And this is because you're all new to this field. You've never designed a database before from the ground up. You're going to need some learning curves and stuff like that. Now, starting from next week, if we have time, but week 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, I will design. We'll go through a database design. We'll pick a topic and we'll design the database together. And I'll walk through it and show you how you do it, how I do it, and how I build out from that. Because I really enjoy that part. I miss being in a classroom doing that, because the classrooms I used to teach in had like all four walls were white erase boards. And I would start in this corner and walk all the way around the room and design the entire database. By the time I was done, I'd take up the entire wall, because they're complicated sometimes. All right. So, like I said, for the most part, every week is exactly the same, except for this week and next week. This week in your assignments, you've got the icebreaker thing where you go into the only time you'll ever go into the discussion boards and say something about yourself. And everyone will say hi to you, and then we'll never talk again. And that's the only time where everyone will log in, because everyone has to do that because they're great. So I find it fun. Like I look who's there, and then I have a little list off the side of my computer and see who I talk to through the semester and see who I don't. It's fun for me. The thing now, next week you have a different thing, and this usually makes people panic. So next week you don't have a paper due. Next week you have what they call reverse engineering a website. So this does not mean you're writing any code. This is incredibly simple. This is not difficult at all. What this is you choose a website and then you tell me what you think the back end looks like. You don't have to draw anything. You don't have to do any kind of fun, like whiteboarding stuff like that, because probably, yeah. Brandon, you have a question or you're just waving? No. You guys don't have the experience to know how tables and all this works. Just say, like, I know there are tables in database. I think there's a table for this, and you bring the website up. I think there's a table for this. I think this is how it works. This is just to start getting the juices flowing in your head on how database design works. A lot of people freak out about this because they think I want them to actually reverse it, like come send me the code to the database. No, I just want you to talk to me. And there's two reasons why we do this. Number one, like I said, is to get the juice flow in your head how databases work. The second thing is we used to have to maintain our accreditation on week 6, force you guys to use Precipio, whatever it is, huh? Proctorio. Proctorio. Precipio is the training software at work. Proctorio. Force you use Proctorio, which I am absolutely convinced is malware, to take a quiz, because in the writings of how accreditation works, we need one thing every semester that you guys show your face on screen for. So this is it. So when you do the original website, you make a quick 2 to 3 minute video. You make sure your face is there. You walk through the thing. You turn it off, and you're done. And you just talk about it. And next week I'll go through how to do one of these. I mean, again, it's very, very, very simple. So yeah, this is to make sure you don't have to use Proctorio, because no one wants to use Proctorio. I strongly suggest you try a simple database. Every semester I say don't use Family Search, and then about 5 semesters ago, the lead database engineer for Family Search was in my class. I'm like, all right, you can use Family Search because you understand it. I actually tried to get him to show me the schema of the. I want to know how those databases work. I don't want to work for the church in their tech division. I feel like I'd get very disillusioned with people if I did, because I know how people are in IT, and I know they're going to be the same in the church. And I don't think people in church do that. But I really want to see what the schema for that database looks like, because it's got to be insane. I tried to make it once, but it did not come out well. So yeah, just pick a simple website, something that has a database backend. You could use Amazon. I feel you're gonna hurt yourself if you try that. Something simple, it's like just like a little website. Every 90% of your database have some kind of website have a database backend. Just find something simple. Okay. Any questions on anything? Because if there aren't, I will start talking about next week's stuff.
Yeah, so just a quick question, just with the final project.
Yep.
And the final project. So those so we can either do the exam or final project.
Yep. Whichever you want.
If you do the project, you don't have to write the 5-paragraph essays every week.
It's true. It's true. If you do the project, you won't do the 5-paragraph. You'll do the essay this week. You do the reverse engineering next week, and then in week 3 you'll start doing the, hey, Brother Stevic, I'm doing the final project, and here's my idea. So that is a big perk about doing the final project.
Do you hold these little Zoom seminars
every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday from 9 to. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm on East Coast time, and I had to pick a time that would work for me and work for people on the West Coast. So 9:30 seemed to be the kind of happy area. This is the first semester I don't have someone who's overseas. That's always fun. Yeah, one semester I had 3 students from Nicaragua who emailed me and said, hey, our village is being attacked. We're under a table. I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. Turn off your computers, turn off the lights, just stay. Don't even call me when it's done. Yeah, I've had people South America, a lot of people from Africa. take BYU classes, and they took these classes. So that's pretty cool. But
That's-
this seemed to work.
And if we're not able to make it, that's okay.
Yep. If you can't make, these aren't required. These are just here for you to come and ask questions. If you know you're not going to make it, if you want to, when I put the announcement out about the link, if you put a question if you have a question you want answered, put it in the comments of the video of the thing, and I will answer it on screen. And I record all of these and post them the next day or the same day. So if you can, also what I've started doing is Zoom has a AI assistant that will take notes while I'm talking, and it'll give the summary. So if you don't watch the video, you can just zip through the summary and see kind of where something is. If you want to pop into the screen on the feed, the video where I was talking about that, you can. So yeah. I started using that tool the 2 semesters ago, and I think it's pretty cool that it just matter of fact, if you look at the chat, if someone comes in late, it'll say catch me up, and it'll tell you everything that's happened since you what you missed when you logged in. So I do keep that running. I think it's pretty cool. All right. Your choice, guys. You want to keep going, or you want to call that a night? I'm good with that. I give you the basics. We'll talk about. I can give you the basics of what we talk about next week today. So here, let me give you the spiel here. So okay. Let me turn on the whiteboard here if I can make this happen. Stop sharing. Where's the whiteboard thing? I have a whiteboard option. Nope.
When you go to share, you could reshare and show the whiteboard as one of the options.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Advanced sharing option. Nope, that's what I wanted. Stop share. Share. Host tools. Nope.
You go to more, you can choose whiteboard, new whiteboard.
That's probably what I have to do. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Ah, ha, ha, ha. I was looking under share.
Yeah, they moved it. It used to be under share, then they moved it. So
Yeah. All right. You guys see?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so you'll hear me refer to databases as an engine. Okay, the Oracle engine, the SQL and MySQL. That's because when you install a database system on your computer, it is constantly running. It's always in the background. It's always running. It is an engine. And so it's always ready for you to use. Your database engine uses a language called T-SQL, which stands for transactional, structured query language. T-SQL for me is probably the easiest language to code. Have you all ever tried to code in T-SQL before? No. So you know, like, have you tried like C# and C++? Like it's like, you know, all the weird words that don't mean anything. With T-SQL, your commands are like, you know, select data from
where
table. I mean, that's the simple query. So T-SQL is actually English. There's nothing in there that there are some phrase like concat and things like that we'll use later on that are shortened, but for the most part, it's English. Here, do this, this, and this. It's pretty simple. Now in T-SQL, there are 4 forms of commands, but there's only 2 that we care about. Ones are called DDLs, and that's data definition language. Now, you'll hear me refer to something called a schema. And a schema is the database. It's the tables, it's the connections between the tables, it's all the things that the data goes into, but not the data. Okay, so think of a schema like an apartment complex. You build an apartment complex, you build the bedrooms and the living rooms and the apartments and the bathrooms and everything, and they're all kind of contained And then you don't care what goes in there because you're not that part. You just care about the building part of it. There are three major commands: create, alter, and drop. Those are the three major commands for data definition language. Create makes it, alter it changes it, drops it gets rid of it. Again, this is more straightforward than any querying language that exists. After DDL, we have DML, and that's data manipulation language. Those commands are select, insert, update, delete, and truncate. Select gets information for you, insert puts information in, update changes the information, delete gets rid of the information, and so does truncate. But the difference is, and I'll demonstrate this probably in week 6, the difference. Whenever we run a command against the database, a couple things happen. Okay, so your database is stored on your hard drive. Your hard drive is a static thing. It cannot change. It is there. It cannot move. You can't even read what's there. It's just there. The only way that you can read or change or modify anything in your database is to take what's in the database on the hard drive and put it into the active RAM on the computer. So whenever you run a command against the database, what the first thing it does is it goes to the hard drive and gets the information you look for and brings it into RAM. And the thing that's important to note of that is if you've got a table that is, let's see, what's the biggest table I have work right now is 4 terabytes. I've got a 4 terabyte table. Yeah, I know. I saw the look on your face. There's a 4 terabyte table. It's optimized. It works fine. It is a history table. It's got all the information there. It's partitioned, all this other great stuff, but it's 4 terabytes big. If I run the wrong query on that and pull, I don't know, 2.5 terabytes of data into my computer will die. It'll be a little funeral service, and I got to get a new computer. So it's important to understand that first thing, that the data cannot be changed unless it's in the RAM and you're pulling data into RAM. Okay. So, so the select statement, so what I was saying is like, so the select statement shows you what you're looking for. Insert, update. Now, the thing is with insert, update, and delete, it's called RBAR. I always use this term and no one ever asks me what it means. You know what RBAR means? Row by agonizing row. So if you have a table that is 10,000 lines of data and you write a select query off of it, what happens is it goes row by agonizing row to find the information you want. Now, it takes the computer like microseconds to do it. But when you insert and you update and you delete, it goes through every line to make sure it's done. So if you update a table and you say update the rows that have this information, it's going to go and find those rows one at a time. Boom, 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 until it finds it. Delete does the same thing. Delete everything in the table that has the last name Williams. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Truncate flushes the table without looking. It doesn't RBAR. It just gets rid of everything. It's like, you know, the FBI is coming through everything into the shredder. You know, that's what it does. And it's not a logged action. So I talk about this. So I'm going to talk about, I go in depth about this later, but because database engines are engines, they have consistently running logs. And every action that you do in a database is recorded in the log, except for truncate. So if I deleted 112 rows from a table using the delete command, in the log, it would see delete row, delete row, delete row. And you'll see all 112 delete the rows, which was deleted. If I do truncate, you're just going to see the word truncate, and that's it. And the reason why this isn't necessarily a great thing is if you, or not you, but like, let's say you have a wonderful employee who's their second day on the job and they accidentally delete like 37,000 lines of critical data. Because database engines are logged entities, you can get into the log and reverse what they did. Assuming you set the database up properly to do that, you can pull the log and reverse everything they did except for truncates. So don't let anyone use truncates on your systems because it blows away everything. It'll never come back. Okay. Bring it back up over here. Creating a database is incredibly difficult. That's the command. Create database and the name of the database.
Don't you have to have a semicolon at the end of it?
So it depends on the engine you're using.
Okay.
If you're using MySQL, yep, you put the semicolon there. If you're using T-SQL or Oracle, you don't. A lot of people, so it's interesting when you code in T-SQL and really any coding language, there are some accepted norms that we try to do to make sure that whenever someone looks at your code, they know what you're talking about. You haven't gone off the reservation trying to do something new, right? So the one thing that we try to do is, and I'm really bad about doing this, particularly when I'm writing on the fly. They like to put the commands in all caps, so you can tell what they are. Now, when you're running the engine, the cool thing is, if it's a command, it's a different color. They've got the engine colors the words that you're using. So create database come up in blue, so they know those are commands. But this is a preferred methodology of doing this. The other thing is, and this is a weird one. When you're creating tables, it's never plural. It's always singular. So if you're doing a table for users, it's just table user. It's not table users. You can do table users. It's just this coding norm is to make it not plural. Yeah, I don't want to get much more into it because I don't want to start writing queries tonight. We only have like 10 minutes left, so. But this gives you a good idea on how this starts to work. These are, we'll talk about these all the time. There's a bunch of other commands. There's where and a bunch of other clauses we'll talk about. So what we'll do with the coding is next week we're gonna start with the simple codes, just with the select statements, and we're gonna add a little bit onto that, a little bit onto it, right? The code that I will give you is code that I write on my own. Sometimes I'll do it while we're talking. There are a couple of times I do the code that are in the exercises because there's something I've got to explain on why it happens. And then during these nights, I will talk about things that aren't in your book at all. Just things that I think you need to know about. Even if you don't become a database administrator, if you deal with DBAs, you'll know how to talk to them by the time you're done with the class. Because where I work right now, one of the biggest problem is not the correct word, but one of the challenges that we have is, when you're in a company, you've got the network people and the programming, the database people, and you've got the developer people, and you've got the infrastructure people and the OS people, and no one talks the same language. Nothing gives you a better headache as a database administrator than talking to the firewall guy.
Security.
Those I don't even know what they are. Cybersecurity just does what I think is right because it's cybersecurity. I have so many conversations, and conversation is the nice word, with cybersecurity on the weird things that they do. My favorite is when they change firewall rules and then say they didn't do anything and change them back before anyone notices. Like I'll call and say, hey, my database isn't responding anymore. Did you firewall change? No. They'll look, no. And then all of a sudden it'll start working again. I'm like, did you flip the switch back? Did you? And I know they do this because I've done it. I'll do sometimes back in my younger days when I wasn't worried about getting fired. I would do what's called a scream test. I would turn off a database to see who screams because I didn't know who used it. You know, when you have database systems that have been running 20 plus years, there are databases on there that have been running for decades and you don't know who uses them anymore. So you just turn them off and see who complains. And when they say, hey, what happened? Oh, look, it's running now. I don't know what happened. Must have been a hiccup with the network. So, all right, gentlemen. Any questions for me?
What's your favorite Star Trek series?
Oh, dude, right now, I love Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds.
Have you watched it?
Yeah, I have. I've seen all of them. Have you seen Lower Decks?
Oh yeah, I love Lower Decks. That starts in a
That's
couple
hilarious.
weeks.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
The crossover between Strange New World and Lower Decks was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be stupid.
I'm actually rewatching the original series right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you go back? If you're not Star Trek guys, did you go back and watch with the last episode of season 1 where they mimicked the episode from season 2 of original series? Did you go back and watch the original one?
Yeah.
After that,
cool.
So crazy.
Yeah, they're
So
connecting
crazy.
a lot of dots. So
yeah, I love that. I think I will honestly say I think the Paramount stuff they're doing right now far surpasses anything that preceded it.
yeah.
Prior
Did
to
you see the third season of Picard?
oh yeah, that was amazing. All the Easter eggs in there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
And then
sorry,
and then
I could
how
geek out for hours on
oh yeah,
these.
and then how Discovery season 5 ended with a tie back to Enterprise. You're like,
Mhm.
holy crap. But
Yeah.
prior to what they did on Paramount, Deep Space Nine was my favorite Star Trek series. Not season 1. Jason, there are people walking by your window and it freaks me out. I don't know why it doesn't freak you out. I'm like, there's someone walking by. I'll warn you if someone has like a knife or something, so don't worry about it. It's like, Jason, behind you now.
I'm gonna get killed. That's pretty important.
I have a like a mob mentality. I can't sit with my back. If I'm in a restaurant, I got my back facing a wall. I don't know what happened to me when I was a child, but I don't sit with my back to windows.
That is hilarious.
When I was a kid, there was this movie called Salem's Lot based on Stephen King's book of the same name, and there was a scene. And I watch horror movies and nothing freaks me out. I watch horror movies because my parents. I wasn't a member of the church all my life. I joined at 33, and my parents didn't care what I watched, so I watched like anything I wanted to. But the only movie that ever scared me was Salem's Lot, and the scene that was it was a stupid scene. Like this kid, his best friend became a vampire and flew up to his window and tapped on it. And was tapping. I think he woke up and there's tapping on the window, and he opened up and the kid killed him. I can't for a long time. Windows and me sleeping. No, I couldn't sleep near a window. I could sleep outside in a tent. I could sleep outside with nothing around, but anywhere that could be tapping on a window, man, I was super sensitive to that for years. And there's a remake coming out in 2 weeks. So I'll be watching to see if it still messes me up. But
That is awesome.
yeah. There's something for everybody that just freaks you out. Like, people don't like clowns. I just think they're weird. But cool. All right, gentlemen. Thank you for coming tonight. I will, if you're here next week, I'll see you then. If not, please keep in touch and let me know what I can do to help you.
We'll
See you
see
guys.
ya.